In a revealing technical breakdown from someone who knows him better than almost anyone, former UFC champion Kamaru Usman has explained why Carlos presents a uniquely dangerous challenge for Leon Edwards at UFC 322, despite the Brazilian representing a welcome stylistic shift from the wrestlers who have recently troubled Rocky. Usman, who fought Edwards 3 times in one of the era's defining rivalries, identified the fundamental tension in this matchup during an appearance on the Pound for Pound podcast. For Leon Edwards, Leon has struggled with pressure grapplers, Usman observed, with guys that are going to come forward, guys that are going to change levels, take you down, hold you down, and beat you up. I've shown that, Muhammad showed that, and Sean Brady has just shown that. The former champion acknowledged that facing a striker like Carlos, rather than another wrestler, must come as a slight relief for Leon, understanding that I'm not going up against a guy who wants to take me down, who wants to hold me down and beat me up. However, Usman was quick to emphasize that Carlos represents anything but an easy outing. He highlighted the Brazilians' unorthodox arsenal and mentality as particular threats. But the difference is you got a different type of striker. You got a striker that loves to throw knees, loves to throw elbows. A striker that's ultra-confident. A new type of striker. A kid that has no fear. Usman believes Carlos's recent experiences have ideally prepared him for this moment. The Brazilian bounced back from his loss to Ian Machado Gary with a spectacular spinning back elbow knockout of Jeff Neal, demonstrating both resilience and fight-ending capability. Since then, he's bounced back against Jeff Neal with that tremendous knockout, and now he's going up against another southpaw who's not primarily known for his power, not primarily known for his aggression. The 3-time Edwards opponent offered a nuanced assessment of the British fighter's style that suggests potential vulnerabilities against Carlos's approach. He's more of a slick guy, Usman said of Edwards. This technical, measured approach, while effective against certain opponents, might struggle against Carlos's unpredictable, aggressive offense. Usman's conclusion was telling. I think this is a favorable matchup for Carlos. This endorsement from a former champion who intimately understands Edwards' strengths and weaknesses adds significant credibility to the notion that Carlos could score the upset at Madison Square Garden. For Edwards, the challenge is clear. He must prove he can handle a different kind of danger than the grappling pressure that has recently undone him, while demonstrating that the technical precision that once made him champion can overcome the fearless, unorthodox aggression of a rising contender. UFC CEO Dana White has offered his perspective on the surprising reception welterweight champion Della Maddalena received during Thursday's UFC 322 press conference in New York, where the Australian title holder was repeatedly booed by the Madison Square Garden crowd despite entering as the underdog against a fighter moving up in weight. White believes the negative response stems from a combination of Islam Makhachev's established global stardom and the specific demographic makeup of New York City's fight fan base. Obviously, there's a huge Muslim community out here in New York, White told Fox Sports Australia. Also, you have to look at the fact that Islam is looked at as one of the best ever. The UFC boss highlighted Makhachev's deep connection to the legendary Dagestani fighting culture that has captured the imagination of MMA fans worldwide. Islam has done so much, and the whole Dagestan and Khabib Nurmagomedov and the camp that they have out there, like I said, it's basically like a Muslim country right now, so I'm sure Jack is feeling it. Rather than being rattled by the hostile reception, Maddalena appeared to thrive on the energy, telling reporters, "I love it. I love this shit. This is the atmosphere I'm looking forward to on Saturday night. It's going to be a good night." This dynamic creates an intriguing backdrop for Saturday's main event. Typically, champions defending their belts against challengers moving up in weight would enjoy crowd support, particularly when they represent English-speaking countries like Australia. However, Makhachev's connection to the globally popular Dagestani fighting dynasty, spearheaded by the undefeated Khabib Nurmagomedov, has transcended typical fan allegiances. The press conference atmosphere also featured intense face-offs between the two fighters, requiring White and security to eventually separate them as tensions simmered. This combination of crowd dynamics and personal intensity sets the stage for a charged atmosphere at Madison Square Garden, where Maddalena will attempt to defend his welterweight throne against one of the most accomplished fighters in UFC history, all while competing in what effectively amounts to enemy territory despite being the reigning champion. In a bold declaration ahead of her champion versus champion showdown, Zhang Weili believes her evolving, unpredictable fighting style will be the decisive factor when she challenges Valentina Shevchenko for the flyweight title in Saturday's UFC 322 co-main event at Madison Square Garden. The former strawweight queen, who voluntarily vacated her 115-pound title to pursue two-division glory, outlined her strategic advantages during an appearance on UFC 322 Countdown. "All I do every day is eat, sleep, train, and research techniques," Weili revealed, emphasizing her singular focus. "I think my fighting style changes with each match. I'm constantly switching up my techniques, switching up my style." This adaptability, Weili contends, separates her from the notoriously well-rounded but more predictable Shevchenko. "So my advantage is that tactically, I'm constantly showing different things. I think Valentina is very well-rounded, but I also feel I've become more well-rounded as well. So whether it's wrestling, ground game, or striking, I'll be thoroughly prepared for this fight." The Chinese star enters the bout riding significant momentum, carrying a 5-fight winning streak that includes reclaiming the strawweight championship and successfully defending it twice. Her most recent victory, a decisive decision over the previously undefeated Tatiana Suarez, demonstrated her ability to neutralize elite grappling threats while implementing her own diverse offensive arsenal. Weili's confidence is further bolstered by maintaining consistency in her preparation, noting she's replicated the same training camp structure and partners that produced what she considered one of her best career performances against Suarez. For Shevchenko, this represents perhaps the most dangerous challenge of her flyweight reign. The champion brings her own impressive credentials, including a decision victory over Manon Fiorot in her last title defense and a redemption win against Alexa Grasso to reclaim the belt she once held for years. The matchup presents a fascinating clash of championship pedigrees. A victory for Weili would cement her status among the all-time greats, making her China's first two-division UFC champion while adding the most significant name yet to her already stellar resume. For Shevchenko, successfully turning back a former champion moving up in weight would further solidify her flyweight dominance and quiet any remaining doubts about her position atop the division. As both warriors prepare for their Madison Square Garden encounter, Weili's belief in her tactical evolution against Shevchenko's established excellence sets the stage for a technical masterpiece that could redefine both legacies in one of the most anticipated women's MMA fights of the year. The UFC 322 card has undergone a late change, but the promotion has successfully navigated fight week adversity to maintain a stacked 14-bout lineup for Saturday's landmark event at Madison Square Garden. Undefeated prospect Malcolm Wellmaker will face a new opponent after original foe Cody Haddon was forced to withdraw due to a broken foot sustained in training. Stepping in on extremely short notice is Ethan Ewing, an 8-2 knockout artist who currently holds the interim bantamweight championship in Faber's A1 Combat promotion. Remarkably, Ewing competed just 6 days ago, scoring a knockout victory that kept him prepared for this opportunity. The bout will now take place at featherweight rather than bantamweight, a practical adjustment given the abbreviated preparation time. Wellmaker brings a perfect 10-0 record into the contest, including back-to-back UFC knockouts of Chris Matinho and Cameron Simon that established him as one of the promotion's most promising young talents. The main event intensity reached a boiling point during Thursday's press conference when champion Della Maddalena and challenger Islam Makhachev engaged in an extended stare-down that required UFC CEO Dana White and security to eventually separate them. The tense face-off underscored the high stakes surrounding the welterweight title clash, which features a champion defending against a former pound-for-pound king moving up from lightweight. Despite the late shuffle, UFC 322 remains one of the most anticipated cards of the year, featuring 2 championship bouts and multiple undefeated prospects. The co-main event intensity reached a boiling point during Thursday's press conference when champion Della Maddalena and challenger Islam Makhachev engaged in an extended stare-down that required UFC CEO Dana White and security to eventually separate them. The tense face-off underscored the high stakes surrounding the welterweight title clash, which features a champion defending against a former pound-for-pound king moving up from lightweight. Despite the late shuffle, UFC 322 remains one of the most anticipated cards of the year, featuring 2 championship bouts and multiple undefeated prospects. The co-main event pits women's pound-for-pound elites Valentina Shevchenko and Zhang Li in a flyweight title clash, while undefeated welterweight Michael Morales, 18-0, and bantamweight Baisinger Susurkayev, 10-0, also feature on the undercard. The successful last-minute replacement demonstrates the UFC's depth of available talent and ability to navigate fight week emergencies, ensuring fans at Madison Square Garden and watching worldwide will still witness a complete fight card headlined by one of the most compelling championship matchups of the year.
In a compelling assessment of the high-stakes UFC 322 main event, Daniel Cormier has pinpointed why the pressure rests squarely on Islam Makhachev's shoulders as the former lightweight champion attempts to capture welterweight gold against Della Maddalena. Cormier, who shares both a friendship and extensive training history with Makhachev, provided a nuanced breakdown of the psychological dynamics at play during an interview with MMA Junkie Radio. While acknowledging the inherent pressure on any defending champion, Cormier argued that Makhachev faces unique expectations as he ventures into uncharted territory. I mean, you always put the pressure on the champion, right? You're the one who has the potential to lose the belt. That would be the easy answer. The pressure is on Islam. Islam Makhachev is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. People expect him to win in what is a very difficult fight. This will be the toughest fight of his career, but people expect him still to get the job done. The Hall of Famer highlighted the particular risk Makhachev undertook by voluntarily vacating his lightweight throne to pursue a second championship. This decision transforms Saturday's outcome from a simple win-or-lose scenario into a potential legacy-defining moment. That's where there's pressure, and you're the guy who left your belt to go pursue another one. So pressure is on Islam, because going into the fight this weekend, everybody knows he gave up the belt. So in their minds, they still view him as a champion. You go lose to Jack, now for the first time in a really long time, you're not the champion in any way, shape, or form. Cormier's analysis underscores the high-wire act Makhachev has chosen to attempt. A victory would cement his status as one of the rare 2-division champions in UFC history, validating his decision to abandon the lightweight division he once dominated. A loss, however, would leave him without any championship standing for the first time since 2022, potentially undermining the strategic calculation behind vacating his title. The added variable of weight class transition compounds this pressure. While Makhachev has appeared physically imposing during his welterweight preparation, the actual in-cage performance against a natural 170-pound champion like Della Maddalena remains an unknown quantity. As fight night approaches, Cormier's perspective reveals that Makhachev isn't just fighting for a championship. He's fighting to validate a career gamble that could either elevate his legacy to unprecedented heights or leave him temporarily outside the championship picture for the first time in years.